Welcome to episode 6 of Nuts About Thrust, where we talk about all things aviation maintenance related. Today we have a guest, Carson Yao. He's one of our inaugural A&P students. He's here to join us to kind of talk about things that interest him in aviation.
Yeah.
Zach,
I'm glad that we have a student on. We get to hear a little bit more about, people can know that the school exists if they haven't seen any other stuff from us other than this. Although there's a lot of media out there. I'm glad to have Carson here. Carson's a good time anyways. But I'm excited for people to hear a little bit of what it's like to be a student at Thrust, and maybe even, some of the aspirations a student might have, things like that.
We really wanted to kind of ask Carson about not necessarily what it is like to be at an A&P school every day, but really what led you in this direction. Really, what are you looking to do when you graduate? So Carson, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Carson Yao. I been doing mechanics my whole life. I was gonna go work at a Chevy or Toyota dealership. Then I found this school. Figured out airplanes is just a bigger. I feel like it's a more fulfilling purpose for my life and what I'm trying to do. Afterwards, being an A&P school, doing this, I can work anywhere in the U.S., which I think is really cool if I want to move around, do something else. So, and there's just a lot more, I feel like job opportunities with A&P school, not just working on airplanes, but also helicopters, just doing anything I want to do. So,
yeah, you like to work with your hands and things like that. Is there a reason? Is that like have anything to do with why maybe you chose?
Oh, yeah, I don't want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life, do stuff like that. So, like a lot of hands-on work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's how I am too.
So, you just graduated from high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had there been some sort of A&P program or aircraft mechanic program, would that have been something you would have been interested in?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Before this, I was looking at AIM, kind of looked at their program, wasn't feeling the best about it. So before this, I thought about doing paramedic school, doing that, being an EMT, riding in the ambulance and stuff. Then I found this school, and I just love doing mechanics, love working on cars and stuff. So the way I saw it was I can do this school and kind of follow. You kind of inspired me a little bit with that, like being a crew chief in the Army. So I thought about it like this, can do A&P school. Once I'm done with A&P school, I'm working at an airport, start doing paramedic school, and then working at a hospital, being the like A&P that works on the helicopters, and working my way to being also a medic. So I'm just kind of like the crew chief for those hospital helicopters.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Cool thought.
Yeah.
So I remember when you came in, right? You guys were kind of looking at different schools in the area, trying to figure out what you wanted to do. I think you had kind of just recently graduated from high school, right?
Yeah, it was that summer. Like graduated in early June. I think I came like mid-July, late July.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did tour. That's what you're saying. You remember when you toured?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Toured here. The only other option was either go out to Irving, but me and my dad weren't feeling too great about that school. So it was between this and going up to Tulsa. It's called Spartan, but that's like a whole university. You have to get through all of your degrees and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to go straight to the license, get straight to the action. So
makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So you said you considered maybe even being like an EMT and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, are you still working? Are you able to work now? I mean, I know you
I
have
still
full time.
work.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I still work after school. I mean, we're only here till about 4 o'clock every day. So after that, some days I'm working at my church. Some days I'm working at, I just work at Olive Garden right now. So I'm still able to work a job,
That's cool enough.
make my own money. So.
Yeah, right. And then of course school. So you stay pretty busy then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot. Because it's like a full time. It's the hours you said you're there until about 4.
Hey, we're here from like 8 to 4. So I mean, this is like a full time job alone.
You get to practice that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got this job, I had to adjust to the 8 to 5 life a little bit because I've always worked like freelance work and things like that.
Yeah.
But even when I went to community college for a while, right, before going to like taking some courses and things like that, I remember even then it wasn't consistent Monday through Friday, so it was quite an adjustment. So you're kind of ahead.
Oh yeah, we're in it Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
My friends are like, "Oh, so you have summer off?" Because all my friends are back from college. They're like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have school tomorrow.
Yeah,
hang out."
Yeah,
I'm worried about my future.
That's the thing that I think that a lot of like traditional 4-year university graduates, they're not being set up to be successful, because when you think about their workload, right? So they have 3 or 4 classes a week that are an hour and a half, right? And then
I mean, some of my friends will start school at like start their classes like 12 o'clock, so you're like sleeping all day, and I'm like, dude, that's not you're not getting on like a good sleep schedule for work once you're done with school. Like real
Mm-hmm.
world, you're not waking up at 12 every day. So
Yeah, and well, a
yeah.
lot of times you think, it's easy to think that, oh, when I graduate, yeah, I'll just be an adult or whatever. I'll just be used to
Mhm,
it. The habits will be like it's a habit
yeah.
thing, though.
Mhm,
It takes a little. At least for me, it took a
yeah.
lot of adjusting. There was a lot of little habits I had to realize
Mhm.
that went into getting up at a certain time every day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not that I was like sleeping in all day, but
Mhm.
I didn't have to be anywhere at 8 every day. So
Yeah, yeah. I
there's
was
a
the
lot of
same
little
way. I was
things.
like working at a restaurant over the summer, and
Hmm.
like I wouldn't get there till like 10, 11, 12 o'clock every day. So I'd
Hmm.
sleep in, or
Hmm.
didn't really matter if I like got to that job late or something.
Hmm.
Like, but now that I'm here at school, it's more scheduled. Where
Hmm.
get here at this time, you're gonna leave at this time.
Hmm.
It's a lot more schedule focused.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
getting me on a much better schedule
yeah,
for my life
yeah.
going forward.
Yeah, well,
So
I'm sure that'll
That's a
translate somehow over there. I don't know what the hours are like in the A&P world. I know it can vary a lot based on what you're doing,
yeah.
same way it does with pilots and a lot of
Mhm.
other jobs that are in
yeah.
high
I mean,
demand like
and
that.
that'll depend on where Carson decides to go to work.
Hmm.
If he goes to work somewhere like at a flight school, he'll have more 8 to 5 Monday through Friday type hours.
Mhm.
If he goes to an airline, the first few years he's going to be working
Graveyard.
graveyard.
Yeah,
Friday,
Mhm.
Saturday, Sunday night,
get your days to
Monday.
yourself.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that traditional universities don't that sort of workload and schedule doesn't really set people up to be you know for their professional careers,
Mhm.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
A lot of kids aren't working while they're in college, so they have 15 hours worth of work to do a week,
Mhm.
right? That's what that means when you take 15 hours of college. What does that mean? That's 15 hours per week,
Yeah, pretty
Mhm.
much.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not necessarily full time.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious if I had a question about. Something that you've learned so far. Like, what was
Mhm.
one of the first times you got out into the shop? Was there anything that you're like, this is kind of what I imagined in my head,
Yeah.
and it's cool to be learning this. And now you said you already liked working on cars and things like that,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I'm wondering if any of it just felt brand new and kind of exciting at any moment.
I mean, the only thing that felt new is just like looking at all the props.
Hmm.
Working on a lot of prop driven planes.
Hmm.
Cars don't have props.
Right.
A lot of wiring because we go over electrical systems and all that.
Hmm.
So just all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like whenever I work on my car, like I know the engine, but anything wiring, I'd have to like look up like a Chris Fix-It video or something.
Hmm.
But this whole different ball game, but there's still manuals for everything, still electrical diagrams, all that stuff. It makes it easy, not so easy. So
Hmm.
yeah, but I mean, the first time we tore apart an engine, I was like, heck yeah, dude, this is what I've
Yeah.
been waiting for. It's amazing. So
Yeah, I get to take.
yeah.
I mean, was it like a? What? Tell me a little bit more about tearing the engine apart because I'm
Um,
wondering like what that's like, or
mm.
if it was it a working engine. I mean,
So we tore apart a timed out. Is it a Lycoming? Or is it
Yeah,
the
so it's just
common?
we have training aids, right? So it's a
yeah.
non-airworthy aircraft or engine, but it is complete.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So we took
Yeah.
apart a
Mm.
Lycoming.
Is that what it was? I think
It's
it was a
a
Lycoming. Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
0320. Yeah.
Yes. 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 So took that apart. Went over a lot of inspection techniques, how to clean everything. Because I mean, unless you're doing like field overhauls or something, you're not really going to be necessary doing that much. Taking an engine completely apart, but it was good to see that side of things. Taking
Hmm.
it apart, going over how to clean it. What the manual says on cleaning products, what to use for cleaning it. So
Yeah,
um, yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, I remember. I think I went to a high school in a different part of Texas at one point.
Mhm.
We took apart a single piston engine, not obviously like a plain engine,
Mhm.
but I just remember thinking this is really cool, and like that was like our final. We had to
Yeah.
like put it back together, and it had to start. But I mean, I think it was just really cool, and I've always, like I
Mhm.
said, I like hands-on things too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a
I think
mechanic, but it was
my
fun.
favorite with the new students is like when you guys learn how to do safety wire,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
safety wire can be
Yeah.
difficult.
Is that what was going on that one day when I went in there? You said I remember you were telling me you had to go around and correct people or something.
Yeah, so we go around and so we read in the manuals. There's a
Mhm.
whole advisory circular on how to do safety wiring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How to safety bolts together,
Mhm.
right?
My favorite thing
Um,
is John. He won't even tell you that you like did bad on the safety wire. He'll just come up with like a pair of dikes and just snip it.
Make you do it again.
Do it again. Yeah. Won't even tell you. Just
No,
snip.
we talk about why it was wrong,
Yeah.
or we do cut it.
Maybe after you cut it, right?
Yeah.
one of the real early things that we do is we weigh an airplane,
Yeah.
so go through and just seeing them. That's it's a simple procedure, but it's much different than what you would think of like weighing, yourself or something else, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're weighing an airplane. What are we doing? We're calculating where the center of gravity on the airplane is. How would we make adjustments if there's something incorrect? And then the backside of that is, where do we get all the information for the weight and balance? Where does that come from, Carson?
The type certificate data sheets.
So type certificate data sheets
Nice.
are going to have a lot of information in that, and you have to know those things. You have to know how to navigate the type certificate data sheets. You have to know where to find them.
Yeah, know like whenever you're doing it, to zero out the scales whenever you put the chocks on it. Make sure there's no down locks installed. Make sure you're not leaving the parking brake on.
Yeah.
So
there it is. Yeah.
So he's
a lot more to it.
There's a lot more to it than you would think.
You can just roll it on there.
And it's
you would hope
there's some math involved, for calculating what's the formula.
Yeah. Weight times the arm equals the moment.
Right.
And then you have to figure out if you're.
Oh, Carson has learned something. Look at this.
Well, just a thing or two.
But it's fun to watch through kind of this process, right? So they're coming in.
You're also identifying where the datum is on it.
Yeah.
Whether it's at the firewall or the whole.
That's where we measure from, so that we have stations now that is brain moving. But they start learning these things, and then we slowly, like at the beginning, there's a lot of. In any program, the generals portion is lots of kind of basic foundations for things. And once you get those kind of down, as you build, we're building on these building blocks, right? So, whether you start power plant or start airframe first, you need all those basics of the general curriculum. And I know when Kelly was here, we talked about Choose Aerospace. So Choose Aerospace is doing those initial programs, those initial subjects, while the students are in high school. It's a really neat program. We wish, Carson is a graduate from Plano ISD. We wish Plano, if you're listening, would put that program, implement that as part of your curriculum. It's a fantastic program. But he could have been, he'd probably be close to having his AMP now had they had something like that. And be getting ready to go to work. What kind of moving on to that subject? Where do you aspire to go work as an AMP?
So I have like a couple of like things in my head of like where I want to go, but obviously I want to do the thing. Like, I'm 19 years old, so obviously like I'm on my parents' insurance and all that stuff right now. But what is it, 25 or 26? Whenever you
25.
legally 25, yeah. Thinking not just like pay wise. I know a lot of people are like, oh, let me see where it pays the most and stuff, but not just pay wise, but also like benefit wise. Like what's gonna help me. Like insurance wise, all that stuff. But a couple places I was thinking of going to work at American, because I was thinking about Southwest, which would be a great opportunity for me. But someone was telling me they only use like the 737s, and to really get like if you want to do more than just one plane, go to like American. They're using a variety of different Boeing planes. Doing that, doing the paramedic thing where I'm working on those helicopters. Maybe go work at Bell.
Yeah.
I have my teacher in high school. He said his brother-in-law works for Bell, so he's like, "Hey, if you want to go work for Bell after you're done, get you an interview." So, kind of up in the wind, but I have like a couple, like those three things that I kind of hopefully one of those works out.
And this might be a harder question. I'm not sure where you're at with it yet, but do you know like what the next step is? Because I know you say you graduate when? Is that in this fall? November.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that means that you're kind of starting that process, right? To where you're like, let me figure out what to do next and where to interview and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
We went over how to set up like a LinkedIn just so you look like you're presentable, like people could buy into you. Because I mean, whenever you go work for a company like American or Southwest, they still have to put you through their training courses. They're investing money into you, so you don't want to look like a piece of crap on LinkedIn, where you're not hireable, like 2 months ago, I had like very, very long hair, like 6 inches longer, but I was like, kind of need to cut this 'cause I need to look presentable, look hireable whenever I go work for a company or something.
Yeah.
So.
Get used to it now. Get the short style figured out before you have to go interview. Yeah, man. No, and LinkedIn's a serious thing. I mean, I hear people sometimes they just get reached out to if you have a decent enough LinkedIn profile. So. That's cool. Are y'all doing that in the school? Y'all kind of going over some of that?
Oh, we went over that like during generals, how to set up one, look hireable, start reaching out to like recruiters for whenever you're done. Because certain companies and most companies, I believe, will they'll look at you like a month or two before you even have your license. See where you're at, and
Mhm.
um,
What
just
did
have you.
yeah? So what did Envoy tell you about their kind of process?
So they'll do, I think it was 60 days before you get your AMP, or if you already have it, you already have done like your role in practical, it's in the mail on the way. They'll get you completely signed up as long as you have like proof that you're
Yeah, you get
getting
issued a
it.
temporary card.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I was wondering how that transition goes
Yeah, luckily
out
my
of school.
dad's a
So,
recruiter though, so he kind of helps me out there with that aspect because
oh,
he
he
sits in the
understands.
office, yeah, and recruits people all day. So he
Yeah.
kind of knows that aspect of it to kind of help me out to look more hireable, like what he's looking for whenever
Mm-hmm.
he's looking for people. So
Mm-hmm.
what's going in on their resumes to kind of look more presentable. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's one of the things we do. We're kind of encouraging setting up a LinkedIn profile, starting to build kind of that professional network, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of our student population has Instagram and Snapchat,
yeah,
Right.
but those aren't really going to help you get a job.
yeah,
At least not in
they
that
can help
industry. It
you
seems
not
like.
get a job
They might help you not get a job,
Yeah.
right?
depending on what you're
We have
posting on there.
conversations
Yeah.
about making your stuff private and the way
Yeah.
that people post things and start talking about, hey, this is your entire
Mm,
online,
yeah,
this is who people think you
mm,
are, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
I mean, I think it's great that the school goes over it because, like, in high school, like they don't teach you that kind of stuff.
They
They're not
don't.
showing you how to like be hired somewhere one day. So
No, not really. I think I
yeah.
took an extra class for that, and I only had to
Really,
take that class because I had a job already
yeah.
in high school. And they're like, "Yeah, now you can come to the professional class."
hmm
I was like, "What?" And then they sit you down with random people who work some corporate job, and they tell you
Yeah.
a little bit. So maybe she had me make a resume. I don't think it was
hmm
formatted right, anyways. I did read
Yeah.
it 5 more times, but
Yeah.
she
yeah,
just
and as they get closer to graduation, it won't be like formally part of class, but we're
uh-huh.
definitely going to help and look at their resumes and talk to them about things they need to change,
Mhm.
formatting for that sort of stuff, and
Yeah,
Mm.
it's all part of what we're doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. I mean, I just think of like a one thing I heard of. One time we were having one of the luncheons for one of the new ZTA flight classes, that we were at, and we had a first officer from Delta,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Sam.
And yeah, he was talking about how or you said that you were talking to him or someone was talking to, I don't remember, but he said he doesn't even want to be a captain just because first officer, quality of life.
Hmm.
So more than 5 years, if I am working commercial, working at like American or something, just thinking about quality of life, whether I'm gonna have like a nice house or not,
Hmm.
whether I'm still gonna be working like a graveyard shift or if I'm gonna have a more normal 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever. So
Well, I think you get
just
to that point where
mhm.
airlines is a fantastic career,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I think what you're really getting at is,
Mhm.
in 5 or 6 years, it's probably going to be the time in your life where you're like, okay, maybe I want to think about having a
Mhm.
family,
Yeah.
right? Do I
Yeah.
want to have to work every weekend for the rest of my life? And
Mhm.
so, you know, chasing the largest dollar amount
Mhm.
is no longer the number one thing in
Oh,
your
yeah.
life, right? Like
Yeah.
you're trying to balance all of these different things.
Mhm. Hey, you
Yeah.
work that graveyard shift, you got like an extra 45 cents. Just it's tempting. It's tempting.
He's like, it might be.
I mean, but like as much as
Who,
I love to work on
Mhm.
airplanes, I also love to work on cars. So
Mhm.
like
who
I
invited this guy?
You did.
a couple months ago I bought a 65 Mustang. So like not only focusing on like my job and what I'm doing, but also applying like stuff that I'm learning in school to just my everyday life.
Mhm.
Because we're not just learning about airplanes, but I mean working on airplanes, also working on engines. Recips go hand in hand with car engines. So applying that. We do sheet metal repairs in a couple of weeks whenever we do airframe in school. Go over like welding techniques and all that kind of stuff. So also not just like having like the perfect idea lifestyle in America where have like a house and kids and all that stuff, but just applying that because I also love working on cars, just having project cars 'cause I love
Right.
doing that.
Being
So
able to have time to do some of the things you just care about doing in
oh yeah,
general.
yeah.
Yeah, especially before you have to settle
hmm
down or whatever it might be.
Yeah, because I also like do music, play guitar and all that stuff. But like
Mhm.
right now, I don't have a lot of time to really do that. I have like a day out of the week to kind of do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So just having more time to focus on myself, like the hobbies that I like to do. Because right now, in school full time, also working a part time job, doing all
Mhm.
these other little hobbies and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, just being able to focus on myself,
Yeah.
better myself.
I mean, nice. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing that you've done so far?
And so far, I mean, as much as it was cool to take apart an engine, but also like whenever we had the 150 and that experimental rocket plane in there, going over inspection techniques, going over like getting on a creeper, going underneath the plane, checking out everything. I think it's interesting, like having to research, like you see like a crack or something in a plane, and maybe it's not deep enough to not be airworthy, but having that, you have to go looking like the TCDS, look at if that crack is acceptable or not, is within limits and stuff like that. So going over those inspection techniques, because before I got into the school, I just assumed no one worked on airplanes. I just kind of thought it was just kind of like an up and go, you know. You
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't really matter. But seeing like the prop blade, seeing how like a tiny little nick can destroy the entire aerodynamics of an entire plane.
Mm-hmm.
So just going over that,
Yeah.
thinking that like these planes that we're learning the inspection techniques, you know, these are still planes that are gonna fly eventually once it's ready to return to service. But thinking like, oh, I see like a little nick on the prop, like is that gonna really affect the aerodynamics of it and everything? So think that was pretty cool. Going over like wiring, how to solder and stuff like that. Hadn't done that before in my life. Didn't know how to solder, so but I got pretty good at it. So I would say. Also just like the field trips, not just because we're getting out of class, but just like the field trips. Going to see the different sides of aviation because like last week we saw Bell, which was amazing. A couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, I guess we went to Standard Aero, which is interesting seeing that part or that side of aviation. You know, seeing that overhaul facility, seeing like the testing cell area, getting like the layout of that because like I don't particularly see myself working there, but like another kid in my class, he said that that's something he more wants to do. So I don't know, I never thought about what an overhaul facility looked like. So having that opportunity to go tour there and see everything, see the inner
That's
workings of
a
it.
pretty impressive facility. I think they're somewhere around 1 million square feet.
Really, yeah. And I think
It's
they're still building
gigantic.
another building
Yeah.
currently too, which I thought was really
When you
cool.
get into the depths of that place, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just live in the dark.
Yeah. No, I walked outside after that. It was still like the middle of the day. Walked out middle of the day. You know, we got there like noon or something. Sun was out. Went in there, came back out. Dude, I was like blinded by the sun. I was like, I felt like a vampire after walking out of there. But
That's pretty cool.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us on this episode of Nuts About Thrust. Carson, thanks for joining us.
and thrust we
Zach,
trust.
and if you haven't yet, please give us a thumbs up on this video, a like, right, and subscribe to the channel.